Alright, this is Chat UTD and my preview of Manchester United versus Tottenham in the Europa League final in Bilbao. As of in about an hour's time, I'm going to create a suspended reality for myself where I don't look at the immediate past and I don't look at the immediate future, and you just hone in on this game because it's a game where the club that I've supported and loved for 38 years has a chance to win a European trophy. It's a stage I think we belong on. Days like today, games like today, for me personally, bring out a pride and um, a defiance in it, and I want to puff my chest out, and I want to shout from the rooftops that I support Man United even more than I normally do, because the club's being represented on a bigger scale, on a big stage, and that's where I think this club needs to be, and everything else goes out of the window. So, a massive game that I'm looking forward to. For the sake of this preview, though, it is important to look back at the immediate past and the immediate future before I suspend reality and just focus on the game later. The immediate past, obviously, is the backdrop of the game. It informs the build up to the game. And whilst the semi final against Bilbao a couple of weeks ago was brilliant, and especially at Old Trafford, the last 20 minutes were a throwback in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the football we played. Since then, the two games in the league, they've been as flat as a witch's tit. It's just been a real damp squib. We barely laid a glove on West Ham, didn't score a goal, got beat 2-0. And then no one expected us to get anything at Chelsea. We probably expected a good hiding at Chelsea, which we didn't get. But it's another game, really, apart from the first 10, 15 minutes where we've not laid a glove on them. And for me, there's an aspect of once they get out on the pitch and they cross the white line, no matter how low my expectations are, there's still that element of, yeah, but we're Manchester United, and that's got to stand for something. You could say, well, they're mentally and physically rested because there's been no intensity in those league games. That could be a good thing. Flip side of that is you could come into it a bit undercooked. But I must say, since the international break, we've had played the quarter final, the semi final, and obviously now the final. And so far, they have been able to flick that switch for the European games. But we're not playing European opposition, obviously, tonight. So the league's been an absolute abomination. The fact we've not even got 40 points, we're 16th, it's horrendous. Um, and that is the backdrop to the game. And so much is rested on it. In terms of the immediate future, a few weeks ago, I would have said this game informs the immediate future massively. But as time goes by, I'm not sure about that because I don't trust these owners to do the right thing if we do win this get tonight and get into the Champions League, to reinvest that extra money into squad development. I don't trust them at all. And even if that happens, we're so far behind so many teams that it would take a ridiculous amount of investment for us to make up that gap. And those teams are not going to just stand still and wait for us. So we used to say, look how far behind City, Arsenal, Liverpool we are. Now you throw in Chelsea, Newcastle, Villa, and let's face it, we're 16th. And I've only just named 6 teams. So there's another 9 teams between us and them. Okay, we're probably a bigger club than a lot of those teams, a lot of those clubs. And we can still have that pull to some degree. But in terms of just looking at how everything's working holistically, we're miles off. And those teams aren't going to stand still. So I think the immediate future is not as informed by this game as maybe I previously had said it was. That said, it's massive for Amorim. The whole club's failed this season. The owners have failed. The board between the owners and the management team has failed. 2 management teams have failed, and the players have massively failed all season. The fans have stayed behind the team, done their part, but that in itself is something of a problem because I think there is an acceptance and an apathy about the situation with Manchester United sitting 16th in the Premier League. And I think particularly in regard to mobilising and becoming a militant unit that are looking at strategic protest for change. We've failed on that as well. So I think all aspects of this football club has failed this season. But the person facing the bullets, the person in the spotlight, is of course the manager, as it always is. And Amrim's come in and not had the impact that people would have hoped. So for him to win this tonight is massive for him. He would be only the fourth Manchester United manager to win a European trophy, so he'd be in the company of Sir Matt Busby, Sir Alex Ferguson and Jose Mourinho. So it's not nothing. It's not the Champions League, but it's a big competition to win. And if he could go and lay that trophy there on the table for us and bring it back in his first season, it would be significant in terms of where he stands then in job security. Because if we were to lose him within the next year, who's around? Who realistically is going to come in and be the saviour of this team and this club? He's the best manager that's out there that would do the job at Man United. There isn't anyone else. So I hope he gets a fair crack of the whip, and he's going to have to do it with at least one hand tied behind his back, but I'd rather it be him trying to do it than someone else, because I just like the cut of his jib, and I like the fact that he's very honest, and I like just like so many aspects of his personality, I suppose, and I'd like him to have a chance in the absence of anyone else that seems to be available that would be better. So it's massive in that regard. On the team that would be picked, I think the only point of contention really is the striker, because Højlund has been so terrible this season that it must be a consideration to not play him tonight. The problem is, who do you play instead? So there's been talk of a false nine. It depends what you do with that. If you put a midfield player as a false nine like Bruno or Mainu or Mount, for example, they haven't got the physicality. None of them are that quick. So the only way that might work is if you put two speed merchants in and around the false nine. So the false nine draws the two centre-backs out and those speed merchants going behind. But then you lose your shape as to what you want to try to do. So I don't think that would work. The only one I could see maybe causing some problems who's not an orthodox striker is perhaps Garnacho, because of his running power and his pace and his ability to turn the defenders the way they don't want to go. But he's never played that role before. He doesn't have fantastic physicality. So you're pretty much back at Højlund. I think Højlund has to play. And you just hope that he has a good night, because he's been dreadful since Amrim came in. It's a big blow that De Ligt's not there. I think De Ligt is a warrior, he's a leader. I think we will really miss him tonight. But good news that Xerxes back in the squad at least. Diogo Dalot is back, and Yoro's in the squad. So they're all positive additions to the squad that maybe we thought we weren't going to have. Big night for Ahmad, as it always is. I think he'll play a big part tonight. I think we'll win, and I think one of the reasons we'll win is that Spurs are worse than us rather than us being better than Spurs. And I know they beat us 3 times this season, but I think the other thing to consider is, although we've not been in a ton of European finals for a club of our size, I feel like when we get to this stage, there's a sense of belonging here. We're a big club. We're an authentically big club. And I know people struggle to quantify what that means and measure what that means, but we just are. We're Man United. You see our fans, they travel in their tens of thousands. We've been playing in Europe. We've had one season out of Europe in 35 years. So this is a club that belongs on this stage. And I think that kind of supersedes the actual team you've got sometimes, especially when you're playing against not great opposition. So I think there's something in that. There's something in that aura around the game that United bring that I don't think Spurs do. For me, my preference would be if we win this competition that we then went back in it next season and tried to defend it. But obviously we're going into the Champions League. The reason I say that is I think actually being in the Champions League next season could be a potential farce. We struggle to compete and find any fluidity against teams in the bottom half of the Premier League. And there will be investment in the summer, but as I touched upon earlier, I don't think it's going to be what's needed. So I'm not that bothered about being in the Champions League. What I hope is, and I'm not holding my breath, is that the extra funds will be made available to Amrim so that he's got a half decent chance to start to try to build something. And of course, the main objective is, for me, it's a European trophy. And it could, I don't think it will be, but it could be a catalyst for better things to come. All that bigger picture stuff is some stuff we can talk about again, I'm sure. But right now, as I say, as of the end of this video, I go into my suspended reality. Forget the immediate past, forget the immediate future. This is Manchester United on a big stage, in a final. Come on, boys. Up the Reds. Glazers out.